Welcome, my friends. Welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. Phone lines are open. If you are listening to me on the live stream right now, the number to join us, 855-950-3835. That's 855-950-FUEL. One more time, if you're listening on the stream, call lines are open right now, 855-950-3835. Start dialing. We'll get to your calls here in just a couple minutes. Just to give you an update on this show every day, we plan on continuing this show in this time slot 5 days a week. It will be 99% caller driven. For example, sometimes it takes us a couple minutes to get some calls coming in at the beginning of a show, so I have to say something. But I'm not going to be planning on any big opens or commentaries. I have a couple things I'll talk about today, just waiting for some calls to come in, so go ahead and start dialing. I did see on both websites, well, definitely on healthytribe.com. I had several requests, a couple private, and I saw one post. It seems like people miss the commentary and the politics and the news updates. I haven't been doing those this last week, so I may do a little bit of that this morning. But ultimately, politics and commentary will have its own show. You can subscribe to it if you want to hear it. You don't have to subscribe to it if you don't want to hear it. Give me 1 second here. We are working on an issue. That's the whole point of these shows, why we're only broadcasting to the tribe right now. We want to work through some of these issues. I'm having somebody check the phones only because I'm not seeing any calls come in right now, and that's pretty unusual. So I want to make sure it's not something on our end. I know I saw some calls come in this morning before we got started, but I'm not seeing any right now. So help me out here. Dial me up just to say, yes, we're hearing you, and we can make sure the phones work if you want. 855-950-3835. All right, so while they're working on the phones and we get some of your calls in, one of the things people ask that I comment on is the Russia-Ukraine thing going on. I have plenty of comments, obviously lots of opinions on that. It's not good. A lot of what we're hearing from the media is misleading at best, and this is a really complicated issue, and I've certainly been studying it. Oh, thank you. Calls are starting to fly in now. We're good. So now if you want to get in, you better dial. Thank you for that. It's working. Here's the problem. I am really, really struggling to find any good answers to this Ukraine-Russia problem. And I don't think there is any, and here's why. The U.S. and the EU, the European Union, and NATO, and most of the world is watching this and saying, and I get it, I understand that you can't do a no-fly zone, you can't do this, we can't do that, because everybody is just freaked out about the thought of starting a war with Russia and what that could lead to. I mean, Russia has enough nukes to destroy the entire planet, and we clearly have a madman in control of it. So how do you deal with this? And I know they've been trying to do just enough to help the Ukrainians without pissing off the Russians. Well, Putin. But it's not working. And it's not to say they shouldn't have tried it this way. I don't know. Maybe they could have done more. But as far as trying to stop Putin from what he's doing, I'm not sure that we're going to be able to. And that's a problem. because at some point then we have to decide, do you just let Russia keep taking over countries, or do you finally say, look, we have to fight him, and even if he's going to launch nukes, we have to fight him. That's what I mean. There's no good answer to this. If we do fight him and he launches nukes, that sucks, but he might do it anyway. He's taken over one nuclear power plant, and I think they're working on a second one now. So I'm not optimistic for a good ending to this. I don't. Now, the one thing that everybody seems to be asking for, except the Biden administration just seems to be saying no, and that is pumping more American oil. I just don't understand how pumping more American oil could be bad. Now, we also want to stop everybody in the world, including us, the United States, from buying oil from Russia right now. That seems like a really stupid thing to do. There is one downside, and it could be a big one, to stopping that oil flow from Russia, to stop buying oil from Russia, especially until after we can get our production ramped up, because if you shut off oil from Russia right now, you could put the entire world into a recession for sure, and possibly a depression. That's how critical the oil supply in the world is right now. Just the fact that they talked about doing it sent prices through the roof. If we actually shut off oil from Russia and everybody stops buying it, we could see $200 a barrel oil, and we'd be talking about $8 a gallon gas, I think. And I think it would send the world economy into a tailspin. So what do? I don't know. I hope there are people out there smarter than I am that have this figured out, but I'm not all that confident. So you shut off oil to Russia, maybe it puts more pressure on Putin. I'm sure it will, but will it stop him? I don't know. And what if it doesn't? And if we don't crank up production, then we have a huge problem, oil-wise, worldwide. So it seems to me, even Elon Musk, who makes his billions off of selling electric cars and should be jumping up and down for joy that gas is now almost $4 a gallon and diesel's $5 a gallon, he came out and said, we have to pump more American oil. I don't know why everybody sees this and our administration just says, no, we're not going to do that. I don't get it. So that seems to me like the one thing that could be done right now that might make somewhat of an improvement. And then if we can build up enough supplies, stop buying from Putin. But the guy's a madman. I am, Lindsey Graham the other day said he actually was speaking to the people around Putin, his generals and all that. And he said, look, somebody's got to take him out. And, of course, the White House responded immediately and said, oh, no, we can't say that. We don't promote that. We can't talk about killing heads of state. Well, come on, we've done it before. We went after Osama bin Laden for years and killed him. And, I doubt that we could get to Putin. I'm not even sure if our best SEAL team could get to Putin. He's so well surrounded. So I think Lindsey Graham did the right thing. Try to communicate with the people around him. Somebody needs to take the guy out. He's killing children every day. Why would the White House say we can't say we have to take him out? It's not like we haven't done this before. We do it all the time. Why this time we can't? Oh, you can't say that. Why not? Why not? The guy's a madman. He's killing children. He's about to destroy the world economy, and he's threatening nukes. What do you mean we can't take him out? Of course we can. If we could figure out how to take him out with our military, we should. But you can't say that. Lindsey Graham's being condemned for saying it. I don't understand why we can't. Done it before. All right. So I had some other things I was going to talk about, but since the calls are flying in, I think I should just start getting to those. Let's go to those are the wrong calls. Hold on. Wait a minute. Hey, Lisa, Angie, Aaron, why are all the calls that come in, why are they all terminated? Every call that come in is now listed under terminated calls. Are you screening them and hanging up, or do we have something going wrong? Okay, here's a new one coming in. I'll watch this one. Are we screening that call that just came in? Hello? Anybody hearing me? Aaron, Angie, Lisa, somebody give me some feedback. I'm seeing all terminated calls. Oh, there's one. Okay, that one's screened. Let me try taking that one, and we'll figure out what happened to all the other calls. Let's.
So I'll just wait for the beep.
Yep, there's the beep. Mark in Idaho.
Oh,
welcome.
How you doing, Kevin?
Good. How are you?
Doing all right. Doing all right. Hey,
what's on?
Well, glad you got your show going on.
Well, thank you.
Also, yeah. You know, we hear over quite a while now. I've been hearing quite a bit of talk about, you know, the whole electric trucks, Tesla, just electric vehicles in general. But I never hear, and I could have just missed the show, but I never hear any talk about the cost of electricity. This stuff isn't free. So what's the?
No,
and I haven't done any research because I'm not planning on buying one anytime soon. So
right.
there is a cost difference. So
there is, and I can answer that for you. And I've done a couple little pieces on it here and there, so it would have been easy to miss. I've researched this a lot. Here's one of the problems. First off, I've been saying this forever. We need to get the politics out of electric vehicles. And it's so heavily politicized that every time I mention electric vehicles, people start screaming, oh, that's not going to work. They're not as green as – look, I don't care if they're green. That's really not my point in this. Do they pollute more than diesel? I don't know, and I don't know if anybody could ever prove it or not. It's different. Sure, the battery technology, we're mining and we're destroying the earth with mines, and then we're going to have batteries to – I get all that. We're going to have to work it out, but let's set that aside. Let's not make this political, and I wish the government would get out of any kind of subsidies or tax breaks for electric or solar or wind. Get the government the hell out of this, and then we can get down to cost. Because you're on the right track. To me, this all comes down to cost. This is either more efficient or it's not. And if it's not, I don't think it's going to make it, and I don't want the government subsidizing it. So that's the first thing, and I don't know if we'll ever get rid of that. But here's where we are.
I don't know either.
One of the reasons it's going to be difficult to predict is, let's say, and we're already starting to make the transition, so maybe we'll start seeing some of this. Everything that we buy, the price of it is really based on supply and demand, right? We know that. Right?
Correct.
Do we agree?
Yeah,
okay.
Correct.
Yeah, so here's what should start to happen. As more and more people buy electric vehicles, and it's happening. My God, watch a TV commercial now. Every car company is advertising their electric cars. Like everybody has one all of a sudden, and they're advertising them and taking orders for them. So you would think that at some point we should start seeing gas and diesel come down because there's less demand. But we also have to know that now we put a big demand on the electrical system. So what we have for electric prices today could go up.
Might go up.
And if we can't start producing a lot more electricity, they will go up. If we can produce a lot of electricity, then we should be able to hold the cost down. Now, once that kind of stabilizes a little bit even, now we can just say, look, here's a diesel truck, and we have all the numbers. We have so much history. We can tell you the average diesel truck should cost us this much to run when fuel is this price, this much to run when fuel is this price, and maintenance should be roughly this much, and it cost us this much to buy the vehicle. So what we have to calculate on a diesel truck, average total cost of ownership. Now we have to take an electric truck, and we have no history on electric trucks. We don't know what this thing's going to cost to run. We can start to make some guesses, but we're not going to know till they get put out in the real world. And then we would say, okay, electricity costs this much, so this truck will cost this much to power it down the road. We're starting to see here are the typical maintenance costs on an electric truck, and here's what it's going to cost to buy an electric truck. Now we can calculate total cost of ownership. If they're, let's say they're really close. Let's say it comes out to, it's not that big of a deal. It's 5 or 10 cents a mile difference, or maybe less than 5 cents. Now we would look at it and say, okay, maybe electric ends up being 5 cents more even. Well, I might be willing, if the electric trucks are as good as I think they might be, I might be willing to spend
less
that.
maintenance, things like that.
Right.
There's
well,
a lot of
power.
man.
You know, if Tesla pulls off what they claim, or even close, that truck's
1,000 horsepower.
And I could lose 2 of my electric motors and still have the average horsepower of every other truck on the road. That's a pretty big advantage.
No, it is. It is. I just think about that, you know. So, because I mean, things are pushing ahead that way, but the actual cost of it, you know. So
we
like
don't
you
know
said,
it.
and
that's part
everything
of the problem.
you just talked about is going to take a while. So that's definitely
right.
not going to happen overnight. And you got to get trucks on the road, real world data and from regular users, and
now
really start seeing things, the maintenance costs of things, and I
that's
just know that.
One.
I don't know anybody with a car or any kind of electric vehicle, so I don't know what they pay every night they plug it in their garage or when they go to work and plug it in. It costs something. So
it does. Here's one of the things, though. So fuel itself, the only way we can get diesel fuel that we know of, nobody's ever made a synthetic diesel fuel. So the only way we know how to make fuel is to dig petroleum up out of the ground and then convert it into fuels, and we have to do that over and over and over and over and over. That process would never end. But electric, when you say it's not free, technically it could become free. I mean, it in some cases it is right now, because maybe not to power a truck, but I can tell you I powered all of my garden equipment all summer long for nothing. I spent a couple $100 on,
you know, it's an additional price. Yeah.
Right. So I spent a couple $100 on some solar and a setup like that, and I put it up on top of my greenhouse, and I powered all my power tools all summer, and I could basically say it was free. We wouldn't be able to do that.
Well, you guys talked about doing that on top of trailers and trucks and all that.
Right.
That's
and here's the thing, like I said, the only way to produce diesel is to dig up petroleum. We can produce electricity through solar, wind, water. We can do things like static electricity. There's all kinds of, interesting ways of, hell, I can get on a stationary bike and pedal it and produce electricity.
So here's a little thought I just had on, you said wind. So you got to have a little power to get started, but once you're started driving, you're producing a resistance on wind by pushing through it, and therefore, if you could have some kind of, as you're traveling, pushing wind, you're producing power.
We've talked about the idea of using things like NACA ducts, like they have on airplanes, and NASCAR, I think, even uses them, and they're you've seen air tabs, right?
Yeah.
So think of that shape of an air tab that sticks out from the body, right? If you flip that air tab upside down and you could insert it into the vehicle body so it's flush, that's kind of a NACA duct. It's designed to be able to suck air into someplace and then direct it. So you would suck it in without disturbing the aerodynamics much. because the air's still
Yeah, you'd
flowing
have to have a
nice
happy
and smooth.
medium there.
Yeah, so the air now gets sucked into the NACA duct without creating a lot of resistance, and then it turns a little turbine. Now, the turbine's going to create some resistance, but can we produce more power with that turbine than we lost in resistance? And that's the question. Maybe we can. Maybe we can't. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's pretty deep. That's a lot of work, but I'm sure people are working on stuff like that. We're far from, not using oil right now.
Oh yeah,
Diesel.
we're a long way. We're a long way, right?
I mean, it's starting to happen. All this stuff, basic electric vehicles like you've been talking about, but still going to be using diesel for a long time, and as long
no
as
doubt.
for what we got
doubt.
going on in the world. So
here's the other good thing that I am happy about. If every one of these manufacturers is building and selling electric cars, and it looks like they all are, we will start to get some of our answers from that. Now, it doesn't all translate to a truck, but a lot of it will be, we can look and say, hey, wait a minute. If the average car used to cost 10 cents a mile to maintain, and we're seeing these electric cars only costing 5 cents a mile to maintain, that's pretty awesome, and some of that should translate to a truck.
yeah, same technology, just
Right, just bigger.
size. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, right on. Yeah, it just was just crossed my mind, and because like I said, maybe I've missed those shows. Obviously, I did, but just there's not a lot of talk on actual like cost per kilowatt or whatever it is. Because I know when I used to pay PG&E when I lived there, it wasn't cheap.
Yeah. No,
So,
it's not. But it's also hard to even attempt to make the conversion. It's not cheap, but what does that really mean? Because we have no idea how much of it takes to power that truck yet. Not for sure.
yeah.
But the bigger problem is any calculation we try to make now could end up being very wrong as the shift from diesel to electric starts to affect prices of everything. If diesel starts to go down because there's so much less demand and electric starts to go up, our calculation might flip. All of a sudden you might go, oh no, look, it's cheaper to run diesel now. But then if everybody moved back to diesel, then it's going to change again. You see how...
It's a weird domino effect.
Right.
That could easily change, just like you're saying. I don't know. Just thoughts that I had. So
here's another thought. We know that because the world is so dependent on oil right now, isn't that one of our biggest problems in Russia and Ukraine? That's all we're talking about. And we're talking about it because everybody on the planet needs oil. But as we start to make the switch to electric, well, maybe for a long time, the best thing will be that we actually have both.
yeah, it's definitely forcing some plans to probably be pushed forward right now. It doesn't
Yeah,
happen overnight, but
right. Let's say that.
I'm sure.
Yeah, let's say that right now we had already been moving to electric vehicles for 5 years. Well, Russia wouldn't be able to put such a stranglehold on us right now.
Yeah, I don't engulf myself in the news, but I did catch something with it was Shell and I think another company where they actually held contracts, or they're the ones that were actually purchasing crude oil from Russia and stuff like that. So some of individual companies were putting holds on stuff, but
the government could stop that. Government just says no, you can't buy oil from Russia. The government tells us that kind of stuff all the time, and they can, and they should.
They pick and choose what they want to.
Exactly right. The government could stop Shell from doing that in 30 seconds if they wanted to, and that's what's going to happen. And it doesn't look like it's going to. But let's go back to something else, because this is a great conversation, and I just had another thought. So when we look at how important oil and energy is in our world, it's a big thing, isn't it? We've gone to war over it. We're kind of at war over it now, or it's making the war much more
huge,
complicated. Man. And it's because only certain places in the world have oil. And some of those places have a lot of oil, like Russia. It's their whole economy. I mean, Russia is now being called the gas station of the world because that's all they have in their economy, but they have a lot of it. The Middle East has a lot. Turns out the United States and Canada are doing pretty good too. But what about China? Does China have a lot of oil available? I kind of doubt it because they buy it from everybody else. What about...
Yeah, I don't know. I can only assume that they don't.
What about Hawaii, the Bahamas, Australia, New Zealand? A lot of these countries can't produce any oil. They don't have it. It doesn't exist there. But everybody can produce electricity. Everybody. Every country in the world. Hell, my vision, based on the technology I know now, is why isn't every house built as a little power station? Why aren't we building houses with full solar roofs, geothermal technology to pull some energy out of the ground? We know how to do that with a couple little, wind stations around the house somewhere, on the house. Or why don't we turn every little house into a power plant? We could.
It's quite possible, and I know there's some
Wouldn't
people
that be
pushing
cool?
for that, and some people are resistant against that, and a lot of it's I'm down for a lot of it, and some of it could be, people say, well, not every yard needs a giant windmill in it, but
maybe we don't need giant windmills. Maybe it's 5 little fans up on top of the roof that's put inside of a cupola so you can't even see them. I mean,
that stuff could run in the evening when there's wind. That stuff could run during a storm when there's not a lot of sun, because it's, even if it's raining, man, the wind can produce. So,
right. And then our biggest challenge is the better our storage technology gets, batteries, the more feasible this becomes. Because you're right, whether it's wind, water, geothermal, at some point you might not have enough to produce all the energy you need. But if we have good storage systems, it won't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and think about this. Think about how powerful. Think about how powerful this is right now. One of our biggest worries right now, and the government's even warning us about it, if the Russians attack our electric grid through cyber, we could see devastation. If they turn off power to a big enough part of the country for a week, and that's our estimate, if they do it, it would probably take us a week to get it back on. People die from that.
Yeah, there's a lot.
We're that dependent on power. But imagine if my house is my own little power station. That's pretty incredible.
Oh, I get it.
People
are more prepared than others.
Yeah.
But,
and think about this. Countries like Russia with a madman, they turn off power to their own people. Or now Russia is threatening and already doing it, turning off power to Ukraine so they can defeat them in a war. The first country that figures out how to make everybody's house a little power station has a huge advantage all of a sudden.
Yeah, we're a ways from a lot of that, but
we are.
It's
but
definitely things that are. But
if
the time the clock doesn't stop,
That's right. And if we all got pulling in the same direction to make that happen as a country, we could make it happen pretty quick. And when I say pretty quick, I'm still talking about years, not months.
Yeah.
But,
for sure.
But if we don't start with a good plan and actually start working towards it, it's going to be decades.
Well, we got one whiz pushing for a lot of it, and he's a smart guy, so he's building all this stuff and designing a lot of it.
Yeah, exactly. And here's an interesting thought, and it makes me respect Elon Musk even more. Nobody on the planet, I don't think there's any single person on the planet that benefits more, well, maybe Russia, but from high oil prices right now. People will run out and buy electric cars, and Tesla sells more electric cars than anybody. And yet Elon Musk came out this morning and said the U.S. better start pumping its own oil.
Yeah. Well, he might be who he is, but he's just from what I've caught and listened, and he's pretty much a realist, man. And
exactly. Yep.
This is what he's pretty cut and dry, and I respect that. So I like that.
Yep. Me too. Hey, Mark, great conversation. You're right. I think we need to talk a lot more about that. I'm going to cut you loose. We've got some calls. We also have some phone lines open. So if you're listening right now, the number to call to talk to me, 855-950-3835. Jump in. For some reason, I'm not seeing as many calls as we have been in the past show. Let me go see how many listeners we have. I'm hoping it's not some sort of technology issue. So we had that big flurry of calls. We lost them all. I'm not sure why. Now we have a couple, but help me out here. If you're listening, dial in, help us work out our technology here. 855-950. We have a lot of listeners. What are you guys doing? Call me. I'm going to get to the calls. Here we go. We're going to head off to Indiana this time. Jeff, welcome to the program.
Yeah, a couple things. When you open your show, especially when you're on the road, tell us where you've been, where you're going, and what you had for dinner. And then I got another question.
Got it. All right. So let me do that.
We want to know. We kind of want to know your travels and where you're kind of. I can visualize you went from A to B and you're going to C and whatnot.
Got it. Okay. I took off out of Oregon last Friday, I think. Not last Friday, actually the Friday before, so like 10 days ago or so. And my goal was to intersect the People's Convoy coming out of Barstow as soon as I could, and I managed to catch up to them in Cuba, Missouri. So that's when I kind of joined in with the convoy. I rode with the convoy to Terre Haute. Actually, I stopped in Terre Haute. They went like 50 miles farther to Monrovia, maybe, I think was where they were.
I just outside Indy.
Yeah, so driving in the convoy itself was pretty awesome. Every day it was like 250 to 300 miles. And it was bizarre the first day that every single overpass on the entire route was packed with people and equipment and flags. And I'm watching the news, and they're like, oh, no, that thing just fizzled out. But those days of driving with the convoy were just brutal for me. I'd have to get up in the morning, try to get as much work done as I could, try to get the coach ready, get a shower, work on our new shows and technology, and then jump into the convoy when they got started or try to catch up after an hour. And then that 250 or 300 miles most days was taking about 8 hours because of everybody'd slow down at the overpasses, and sometimes we were stopped because we were creating so much traffic. And then at the end of the day, we'd get to the staging area, and it was tough to get out of it. I needed to get to an RV park so I could go work, so I'd usually have to drive a half hour to an hour. And a couple days of that just exhausted me. And I thought, all right, I got to get out of this thing. I'll keep an eye on it. If something interesting happens in D.C., I'm not that far away. I could shoot down there. Plus, I got to get back to work. The convoy was fun, and I want to support them, but I got to get back to work. So I split off the convoy in Indiana, and I drove to Ravenna, Ohio, which is where my family is, so I'm parked in my brother's driveway right now. And I don't really have to be anywhere to Louisville, so that's like the 23rd. So I'm going to hang out here for a little while and take some time with my family, and then I'm probably going to head over to Pittsburgh Power. It's not that far away, a couple hours at most. And I may hang out at Pittsburgh Power till we all take off to the show from there.
Gotcha. Sounds
and
like
as far
a plan.
as far as eating,
yeah, what's for dinner?
I have not eaten in 10 days. I have not eaten a single thing that I didn't bring with me in the coach. I haven't eaten out one time, haven't bought a snack, haven't bought a drink, a piece of food, coffee, nothing out of anywhere. Everything. So my diet hasn't changed a bit. I brought all my own food with me, all my own coffee, all my own butter, and I haven't eaten anything except my own food, so nothing's changed.
You trying to put 7-Eleven out of business, or no?
Yep. As much as I'd love to support the truck stops, I'm not buying any food from them. I will tell you though, this trip they are getting plenty of my money for fuel. I'm averaging, and remember, in trucking we get paid. I mean, there's some revenue there, and usually when fuel prices go up, fuel surcharge goes up and rates go up, so we at least have some offsetting. When I'm in the coach, I'm getting, on this trip, I'm getting like 5.4 miles to the gallon right now is the best I've been able to do. It got a little better the first couple of days I was using Catalyst, but now it's dropped off again, and I'm not sure why. So I'm averaging right now $350 a day in fuel.
That's that's kind of expensive.
That's a little steep, considering, like I said, most days, when I was with the convoy, I was only doing like 300 miles a day anyway. But then other days I'm doing, 650 to try to catch up. And, yeah, $350 a day in fuel right now.
Okay. So going back to what you were talking with the electric and everything, and I know this is way, way in the future, but how do you envision, or how would it work? Do I just buy an electric truck and say it's in service, and then it just gets punched in its route, and then it just runs and delivers, and I get money, or how's that going to work?
No, wait a minute, because you are confusing two things that I wish I could get everybody to separate. You said electric.
Yeah, I know. Autonomous electric. Further
Separate
down the road.
They have nothing to do with each other, because we are building autonomous diesel trucks right now. They're already on the road working. So electric and autonomous don't make them seem like they're the same thing. They're absolutely not. We can make an electric vehicle autonomous, but we're already using autonomous diesel trucks, and they're moving freight. It's not tests anymore. They're actually out there moving freight and get paid for it.
I thought electric trucks were going to start to have a driver and then become autonomous. I didn't know diesel was
they probably will.
Autonomous.
Well, no, I'm sure they will. The Tesla truck will come out as electric with some pretty robust autonomous features. It won't be a driverless truck. Eventually, I'm sure it will. But don't confuse the two, because we're already doing it with diesel. Now, to answer your question, basically what you just said is right. If you could figure out how to go buy an autonomous vehicle now, and you make sure you're operating in states that have laws that allow them, because that's all still working out, it's not out of the question. I mean, right now, the only people that seem to be running these autonomous vehicles are the companies that created them. So, for example, the biggest company doing this right now in the United States, unfortunately, is actually a Chinese company. It's a company called TuSimple, T-U, Simple. I think they have big plants and testing facilities in Arizona, and so they produce these autonomous trucks. Now, so far, I don't believe they've sold them to anybody, but they themselves, the company TuSimple, has contracts to move freight with their autonomous trucks, and they're doing it. I think they're delivering like a bunch of appliances from Texas to California, I think, on a regular, every day these trucks are running, And I think now,
Okay.
just within the last couple of weeks, I think they actually completed the first run with no driver in the vehicle at all.
Okay. So if I just say 5 years from now, everything's, all the states allow autonomous, and I just buy an autonomous truck, I just get a load and I'll just see this truck take off from my house to go, and maybe I won't ever see it again because it'll continually be going.
That's kind of the idea. Yeah, that's how it should work.
Yeah, because if it leaves my house and then makes continuous runs all through the country, I may never see it again until I called it home or something, right?
Right. I'm sure you're going to have some dashboard on your computer where you can watch it and control it and check all the systems, and I'm sure that's going to happen. But you're right. If physically seeing the truck, why would I ever want to see it again? Hell, I don't want it to come home. Just keep working.
Well, you're not making money if it's home, so
exactly.
If it's just gone, it's gone.
Yeah, just keep working.
Huh.
And here's the other thing. On electric vehicles, first off, they're so simple compared to a diesel vehicle. A diesel engine has to have a cooling system. It has to have an electrical system to be able to produce electricity for all the things we need electric for. And it's got, we have to have an airflow system and radiators and fans and turbochargers and a transmission. And it's really complicated. So working on them and maintaining them is complicated. Electric vehicles are wildly simple. Most of the problems we will face will be electrical, not so much mechanical. And a lot of electrical issues, and they're getting even better at this, at designing systems that can be fixed remotely. It's a programming thing. Like an electrical engineer is going to log into your truck remotely and fix things.
Probably while it's moving.
Absolutely. Some of that's already being done. We have little bits and pieces. Tesla does a ton of their maintenance and updates over the air. You plug your car in at home, there's some sort of fix or update, and your car downloads it. It's more of a computer than it is a car.
Sure. So that was just kind of I couldn't fully grasp or envision that, if you got it to your place and it pulled out, you might not see it for years because it would just pick up a program.
That's it. Yeah.
It just pick up a programmed route.
Yep. And what about this?
Huh.
We do know that there are a lot of companies in trucks. This isn't happening in automotive, and maybe there's some way it could work. But in trucks, we're also advancing on platooning technologies. So maybe you actually start finding contracts where you could fill 2 trucks every time at the same place, and one of them just follows the other one. So it doesn't have to be as complicated as the first one is.
Mm-hmm. Well, that would now, I know those could run 24 hours a day, couldn't they, if they had a way to charge themselves?
Absolutely. There's no hours of service. Now, once we go fully autonomous, like you're talking about, there's no hours of service. So, it can just run forever. ELDs will be a thing of the past. And we do have technology already. It's certainly not perfected, but we have technology where we can charge vehicles from the road itself. Right. So I really do envision a future where electric vehicles don't ever have to stop to charge, and if they're autonomous, they don't ever have to stop at all. Now, here's the applications in the automotive world for this kind of technology. Think about this. After your house, what is the biggest personal purchase everybody makes?
Your vehicle, right? Your personal
car.
vehicle.
Yeah, yes. Your personal car. They're really expensive. really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Out of 24 hours in every day, how much do you use it?
Yeah. My commute to work and back is 20 minutes each way, so I got 23 hours to 20 minutes of setting.
So, you know, we are a car culture. Americans love our cars, but that's changing. The millennials and the next generation, whatever the hell it is, they're not nearly as attached to the cars as the baby boomers are. And at some point, it absolutely makes no sense for everybody to own a vehicle. We will do vehicle sharing. You will simply open up your app and request a car, and a car shows up and takes you wherever you want to go. And then when I get out, I might get into another car. And we could probably run our country on 1/4 the number of vehicles, maybe even less.
Yeah, I'm your age, but I'm wondering if the millennials and the next generation don't have an affinity for cars, because anything after 1990 or so, mid 80s, with the K cars were just awful, and there was nothing to keep like the 50s and 60s cars.
That, and I think there's another factor. Why did a lot of baby boomers like their cars so much? Guys like me, I liked them because I worked on them. I built them. I customized them. I modified them. But you can't even do that anymore.
No.
Like you can, but it's not as easy as it used to be, and it's complicated and expensive, and why bother? And even a guy like me, a car guy, I'm kind of looking at it the same way. Like, why am I spending so much money on vehicles? And I'd much rather open up my app and have a car show up when I need it.
Yeah, no kidding. You talk about the car that the old lady only drove to church once a week. You know, it's really what vehicles are nowadays.
Imagine this. My biggest struggle right now is the fact that I just took off on a big road trip in the middle of the biggest disruption of my business life. I'm right in the middle of a mess in my business. I'm happy that things are going great, but I'm like sleeping 4 hours a night right now, and because I have to drive on this trip. What if I had a fully autonomous electric RV? I'd be sitting in here working all day and getting, 800 miles in.
Yeah, if it could go 24 hours a day,
right.
You could leave Friday midnight and be from Oregon and be in New York in 36 hours or less.
Exactly. Right. Here's another thing to think about. Just, it's the possibilities. Why do we not have 100-mile-an-hour speed limits on our interstates? Because cars are certainly capable of going that fast.
Yeah, well, safety.
Because of humans.
Yes.
Autonomous vehicles will probably be able to be safe at 150 miles an hour.
Oh, boy, I didn't think about that. So if you wanted to leave Oregon, you could be back to your brother's house in 12 hours.
Isn't that crazy?
And then, a flight like that with layovers may take you 6.
Yeah. But all of that is possible.
Yes. No, I have resigned myself to look at the electrics, if you will, as a Tesla, because they're cool and they're fast, and not as the politicized Prius for saving the environment. It kind of does the same thing, but you have to have a different look out at it. It's like, oh, you got a Tesla, you saving the environment? Hell no, I'm going 0 to 60 in a second. That's how I look at it.
With no noise and so many other advantages. Yeah, exactly. That's me. Like, get the damn politics out of it. Let's stop talking about the green shit. Let's stop subsidizing all this crap because it pisses people off and it screws up the free market. Get the government out of it, get the politics out of it, and let the free market prove that this can work.
So if Biden's going to put 500,000 charging stations around the country, is how I've seen them in like mall parking lots. What do? Do you pull up there and put your credit card in and charge for it to come on, or is that free, or what?
No, it's definitely not free. It's like a gas station, self-serve. Yeah, you pull up, you plug in, you stick in a credit card, or you have an account or whatever. For example, and I don't know if this is still true about Tesla or not, but there was a time where if you bought a Tesla S model, and I don't know if you had to buy a specific model or not, but I think it might have been around the S model. I know that if I would have owned one, and I have a friend who does own one, I could drive from my home in Oregon or even up in, northern Washington if you wanted to. The entire I-5 corridor is Tesla has built in their superchargers, and if you own that model, it was free for you. And I don't remember if it was a year or forever. I don't remember the details, but there was a time where there were people who could drive up and down I-5 all they wanted from Canada to Mexico and never spend a penny.
Okay. So that was a dealer or manufacturer incentive to buy it, that it won't cost you anything, and then if you like it, you keep using it.
Yep. Now, here's something interesting. Granted, it's Oregon, and, we're pretty green in Oregon. I live in a town with 1,000 people. We don't have a bank. We don't have a pharmacy. We don't even have a single traffic light, not one in our town. We have 2 gas stations. We don't have any fast food. We have a couple little restaurants. So you get the idea. It's a pretty tiny little town with not much of anything. You know what we do have? An electric vehicle charging station. Yeah, we do have an electric vehicle charging station in our tiny little town.
Does it get used?
Every time I go by there, just about somebody's using it.
Okay.
Like I said, I have a friend who lives in town that has a Tesla. I know there's at least 2. I have a tiny little neighborhood, but I know I've seen a Nissan Leaf that's fully electric. I know a guy who has a Chevy Volt that's full electric. So I know at least 3 people in my town that have full electric vehicles. And it's a small town.
Right. I'm just guessing they probably charge at home, and those people there at the station are driving through maybe.
The one neighbor that had the Nissan Leaf had no charging capabilities at home. I know it because she would stop every day after work, and she told me it would take 20 minutes, so she just had a book, and she'd sit there for 20 minutes before she went home and read a book. But you're right. If it were me, if I had an electric car before I ever bought it, I'd have full-blown charging capabilities at my house.
Yeah. Yeah, but as you said, every month, every year, the storage capacity of these batteries are going exponentially. So within 5 years, they'll be able to go 1,000 miles.
And they might charge in 10 minutes.
Yeah, that would be the good part, because right now, if you're traveling and have one, a buddy of mine can't make it from northern Indiana to his daughter's college in Iowa, and there's a place 30 miles out of Iowa that they stop for lunch to charge when they're going to go visit her.
Right. It's granted, there's no way charging is as convenient as getting gas right now. But we've also been producing internal combustion engines for about 120 years. I mean, imagine the advancements we're going to make in electric now that everybody's making electric cars.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to the future. I may miss my 3.6 liter Buick when I punch on the gas and hear that noise, but if I'm going 3 times as fast, I don't think I'll miss the noise.
Well, here's the thing. You won't have to. In fact, it'll be better. Maybe you like the noise of I don't know, a Mazda Miata better or a whatever. The technology already exists. You can customize what your car sounds like.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Maybe you could do the 68 VW Bug.
There you go. Or we could do to be nostalgic, my first engine in a truck was a 6V92, the two-stroke Detroit, and I love the sound of those things. I'd make my Tesla sound like a 6V92.
Everybody at the stoplight would be looking around going, what the hell?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the future.
Yeah, always. All right, well, good talking to you. Keep us updated on your travels and where you're at and what's going on and, what you're having for dinner.
Will do. Thanks for the call. You know
bet.
what? I have some other calls I'm going to get to you, so don't hang up. I've got several on the line I want to get to. But I also have an update. People have been asking me about the hotspot that I've been testing, and I do have a good update on that. So for the people who might not know what I'm talking about, these systems, if you go to Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, they'll all sell you what they call a hotspot. A little device, you can connect phones and laptops, everything's wireless, and then that gets you on the internet. And they sell you an unlimited data plan. But it's very deceiving. If you use that hotspot and connect other devices to it, you absolutely do not have true unlimited. What you have is maybe 5 or 10 gigabits a month, and when you use that, then you get throttled back to a speed that about all you can do with it is maybe check your email if you're lucky. It's ridiculous. And that 5 or 10 gigabits, if you happen to use your hotspot to stream to a TV, you will blow through that in about 2 hours, and you're done for the month. It's awful. Now, if you wanted to watch TV on your phone or surf the internet on your phone, you do have true unlimited. You could watch TV on your phone all month, and they'd never throttle you back. But that's not very convenient, and it certainly doesn't work for me. I need to power a bunch of other devices, laptops, transmitting my show signals, watching TV while I'm on the road. So this has always been a challenge for me. How do I get all this data I need on the road? And the last trip out, I can tell you I was spending $600 a month on data. So I found these services. They're third party. You don't do this through the phone company. The two that I'm testing right now, one is called Nomad and one is called Sky Mobile. Here's what they claim. You buy a router from them, and the router is kind of just like a hotspot. You can plug, network cables in, and or you can do wireless, and you can have multiple devices attached to them, TVs, phones, laptops, tablets, whatever. And they claim that you will then choose. Do you want us to put a T-Mobile SIM in this router, a Verizon SIM, or an AT&T SIM? They'll even help you decide if you want based on where you live or where you travel. Then they put the SIM in the router, they program it, they ship it to you. One of the routers I bought a cheap one that was $150, and I bought the top of the line that was $500. Once it gets to you, you're supposed to be able to plug it in, get on the internet, and no matter how much streaming you do, you never run out of data and you never get throttled back. And I thought, this almost sounds too good to be true. But I tried it. So here's my results. The Nomad came to me first. So I plugged in the Nomad that day. It took me all of 5 minutes to get on the air. And it was working beautifully. Good, fast internet, streaming TV, no interruptions. I'm like, this thing is awesome. So I thought, I'm just going to leave the TV on for the rest of the day and see what happens. So I I was out of the coach in my office, and I came back out a couple hours later to the coach, and I saw the TV had stopped streaming. And I thought, oh, let me try to figure out why. So I tested the speed on my router, and I had been throttled back to almost nothing. And I thought, what a ripoff. How could they claim that and then do this? So you can't call anybody, but they do have online chat, and it was live. So I connect to the guy, and I'm like, hey, my router is working great. Now I'm throttled back. I'm a little pissed off because I thought this might be too good to be true. And he's like, no, listen, look, it works. Sometimes we run into some issues. Let me try to help you. We made a couple changes, the settings in the router. It didn't work. And he said, all right, I'll have to send it to tech support. It'll be resolved within 24 to 48 hours. So the next day it wasn't done, but the next day I got my Sky Mobile router, and I hooked it up. Easy hookup, connected within 5 minutes, checked my internet speeds. They were excellent. Did the same thing. Immediately connected it to a TV, turned the TV on and let it stream. Nothing uses more data than streaming video. So I came back out to the coach like 8 hours later. My TV's still streaming. Now I'm on my maybe 12th day with that device. I've been streaming TV. It has been flawless, works beautifully everywhere I've been in the country, and never once did I get throttled back. And I am streaming TV all day, even if I'm not watching it, just to see how can I push it to a point where they turn me off. It doesn't look like it. Now, the first company, Nomad, did not solve my problem in 48 hours, hadn't solved my problem like 5 days later, and I hadn't even heard from anybody. So I started blasting the company with emails, and I said, you've got 24 hours to fix this problem, or I'm just going to send everything back and dispute it on my credit card. I'm not giving you a penny. They started responding immediately to me. Emails flying, we're so sorry. We don't know how this fell through the cracks. We'll have a technician contact you, or this problem will be solved in 24 hours. Nobody else contacted me, but lo and behold, and I don't know if it was 24 hours or if I forgot and checked it later, all of a sudden that service just started working, not throttled back, full speed. That was probably 4 days ago. And it's still working beautifully. So as of right now, both of my services, Nomad and Sky Mobile, are working beautifully, and they do seem to be true unlimited. So there's the update. But if I had to recommend one, I'd say Sky Mobile because I didn't have any problems with that one. So that was also the more expensive router. I kind of doubt that made a difference. But all right, we're past the hour, but I'm going to clear all the calls we have. That's the beauty of this format on the show. Nobody chases me out of the studio. So we're going to head off to Idaho for this call. RJ, welcome to the program.
Hey, good afternoon or good morning.
What's on your mind today?
You should probably put me back on hold because now I got about 2 miles ahead. I'm going into some curves, and I'll drop the call for about a half a mile. I'll try calling back. All right.
Okay. All right. Thanks for helping us out there with the technology. Let's go to Texas instead. Grant, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin. Well, this call isn't exciting as technology and electric cars, but I'm sitting in Midlothian, Texas at the Loves right now, and fuel is $4.99 a gallon.
Yes, it is. I've actually paid over $5 in Ohio right now. It's over $5.
It's crazy. And here's my issue is I'm a car hauler, so I've got a big trailer that looks like a giant erector set.
Exactly.
And it's not aerodynamic by any sense of the word. I'm getting 5.8 miles per gallon. And
you got me beat.
I know you're getting a little bit less than that, but my question is, I want to slow down, okay? But when do you reach a point to where you're losing more revenue than you're saving in fuel?
This is the exact question every owner-operator needs to ask themselves and then try to figure out, because the answer is different for everybody for a lot of reasons. And I can go through some and I can help people, but I can't definitively answer it for most people. Now, at some point, especially at $5 a gallon fuel, I could make some generalizations and say, look, if you're a single driver and you don't have freight that you can pick up within 30 minutes, be back out on the road making revenue, get it off your trailer within 30 minutes, and every time you're not sleeping you could be driving and the rates are still strong, then maybe you don't want to slow down at all. But if I'm rushing to get to my delivery and I get there 4 hours early, and now I might even idle my truck because it's cold when I get there, it would have made a ton of sense to just slow down. A ton.
Yeah.
But that's just one scenario. But that's how we have to start thinking, and that's why everybody. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to go back. I have a calculator somewhere that I wrote years ago when fuel was really high, and I got to go find it, and if not, I can redo it again. But it helped you answer this question. You could use this spreadsheet and kind of plug in your fuel price and your rate and a couple other things, and you could run scenarios, and it would say, yeah, if you slow down 5 miles an hour and our rate stays the same, you actually start profiting by this much. And if you slow down 10 miles an hour, you could actually profit by this much. And it helped. It's not perfect because there's a lot of variables in an equation like this, but almost always, I'm going to generalize again, almost always when it's over $5 a gallon, almost every truck on the road becomes more profitable by slowing down somewhere up to about 10 miles an hour. So if you've been running 70, almost every truck on the road would benefit from running 60.
Okay, well, one good thing about hauling cars is I don't have a pickup time and I don't have a delivery time. I show up when I show up. So I'm not ever in a rush. But I do haul on a contract with the major car companies, so we have set rates that I'm not privy to see. But so we don't really get a fuel surcharge; we get a discount.
Okay.
Through our carrier that on these two. But that might help me decide because I don't have to be anywhere at any time.
You actually have an operation that it would be easier to calculate then. I mean, we could almost come to a definitive answer on your operation because so many of your variables are consistent. So it really just comes down to sitting down and calculating the numbers and starting to say, but I can almost promise you at 0.8 miles to the gallon and $5 fuel, running 55 would be highly profitable for you.
Well, I'm willing to try it because, thanks to you, I've got my act together. I've got savings. My bank account's doing good and everything, so I can weather the storm for a while.
Excellent. Now, here's another thing we just need to throw in there. It's usually pretty consistent, but every now and then somebody slows down and they don't get the gains we think they should. Here's our formula. We've pretty much proven that average, nothing's 100%, but average, every 1 mile per hour you slow a Class 8 truck down, you gain 1/10 of a mile per gallon. So 10 miles an hour should actually get you a full mile per gallon better. But if it doesn't, let's say you test it and it doesn't, you have to redo your calculations. You have to base your calculations on what you truly gained by slowing down. We just throw out averages. Average, you should see a full mile per gallon if you slow down 10 miles an hour. Now, if I go on history, you are one of the trucks that I would expect you might gain even more than that because your aerodynamics are horrible, and aerodynamic is an exponential thing. When you start slowing down really bad aerodynamics, you see big gains. Now, take somebody like Steve Crone, and I don't know if you know these guys or if you follow all of our fuel mileage stuff, but guys like Steve Crone, Henry Albert, obviously Joel, those guys that have like maximized their aerodynamics, slowing down for them, they might only get a half of a mile per gallon out of slowing down 10 miles an hour. That's why all three of, well, I know Joel and Henry have all worked on like running 70 miles an hour and still getting good fuel economy because their aerodynamics are just so good. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because my aerodynamics are so bad, it just exponentially gets worse the faster I go.
Yeah, and then the slower you go.
I'm actually pushing wind.
Yeah, so now the slower you go, it's exponential again. Your gains really should go up.
Okay, well, I got into the trap of, if I go 1,000 miles at 60 miles an hour, it takes me 3 hours longer than if I'm doing 70 miles an hour.
I get it. I'm out on the road right now going through those same calculations, and I can promise you on the last two legs, my cruise control was set at 70, and that's almost unheard of for me because I don't get any revenue back from any of this. It's all just pure expense for me. But I got to be places, and I got to get stuff done, so I just have to pay for it right now.
Well, I got fuel gauges, and I'm gonna try playing with my speed and watching my fuel gauges and see what happens when I slow down a little bit more.
Excellent. Keep me informed.
I appreciate it, and I'm glad to see you back in whatever format you can get in. It's good to have you back.
Well, thank you, and I promise we will continue to make this better. We know it's not the best right now. We know sound quality isn't great. It's not convenient. I promise you it's the only thing our team is working on right now to get us our whole network back up and running with good quality, nice and convenient. We're going to go to Missouri this time. Eric, welcome to the program.
Oh, notes.
Awesome.
If you put a quarter of the cars on the road all at the same time, we'll have wall-to-wall gridlock all the way across the nation. I don't think it's even a 16th that are on the road at the same time all at once. So I really think that we could probably eliminate. Oh yeah, I think we could eliminate a lot more cars than just down to a quarter. I think maybe a 32nd of the amount of cars on the road, if they were all moving all the time, I think we could solve that.
I think you're way closer than I am. As soon as I said a quarter, I thought, I was trying to be conservative, but I think that's really, really way too conservative. I think you're right. This may come down to like a 32nd.
Right. Don't get me started on the Prius because the Prius gets worse fuel economy as a hybrid than the Fiesta ST does, which goes 0 to 60 in 3.9, I think.
I have, and if you listen to the show, not only have I never really promoted hybrid cars, I said if somebody builds a hybrid truck, I think they're an idiot. Now, I will tell you what I do think is going to happen in the trucking world as far as a hybrid. I do believe for a while we may have hydrogen electric hybrids. And that's basically what the Nikola truck. But Nikola's doing a full electric truck too, but I still think they're going forward with a hydrogen electric.
I want to try an Eaton-powered axle. And I want to try it with solar, charging between the solar and the regenerative braking. I think just those two could keep that thing charged enough to make a serious profit. I really want to try that.
Hyliion, and did they get bought by Eaton? I think they got bought by somebody. I can't keep track of all this stuff. Hyliion was that company out of Pittsburgh. John Walco knew a bunch of guys over there, so we were following them for a while, and then they got bought. But they build electric axles. I just read an article the other day about it. They have a truck partnership now, and they are building diesel-electric hybrid trucks. So it's got a little diesel motor on it, and it charges batteries, and the batteries run their electric axles. I'm not all that excited about a setup like that. It might be cool.
No, I'm more
transition, but I'm like you said, the hybrid cars. I can remember when they first made the Civic a hybrid. It got 1 more mile per gallon and cost like $12,000 more. It was ridiculous. And think of all that complication in that vehicle. Why the hell do I want this thing?
Yeah, see, what I'm talking about, though, is a 6x2 front forward drive with an electric rear axle that only comes on, when the batteries are charged. I think that could be a pretty big step. I think
it's an awesome idea. Why not? I don't know. I don't think the physics. No, here's something else. And if we're going to do that, so now we're going to have that axle regenerates. It becomes a braking axle. It can act like a retarder and generate power. And what would stop us from putting another set of batteries, if we own the trailer, putting another set of batteries on the trailer and put 2 electric axles on it? Not powered axles, just regenerative axles. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Plus full solar across the top. Yeah, I think that'd be pretty awesome. Speaking of John Walco, let's geek out just a little bit and talk about electric cars, and let's talk about if we could limit the amount of power going to a electric motor. I know it completely ruins Ohm's law, but you could use capacitive batteries for a situation like that.
Okay, so you're right. You just totally geeked out, and all of that flew right over my head because I have no idea what you're talking about. Well,
yeah,
Ohm's law, but I can't talk intelligently about it.
Ohm's law just basically just the easiest way to explain it basically says that whatever is going to use the power is going to use the maximum amount of power that it can use. It's going to use all the power that it needs in order to run it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, which brings me to the next little note that I have here. Have you heard of the SkelStart from Skeleton Technologies?
I have. Aren't they in Germany, or they're in some foreign country, right?
I haven't really checked on that. I was
okay.
looking. Yeah, I was looking for a replacement for the Maxwell Start module.
So are we, and it looks like for a Class 8 truck, as far as I can tell, Skel is the only other one out there. It's significantly more expensive. I think it's almost double the cost of the Maxwell. And we were actually trying to reach out to them to see about possibly becoming a distributor here in the U.S. And then the world fell apart, and things have been crazy, and I haven't really worked much on that. But I've explored their technology. I think it's a better product than the Maxwell was, but it is significantly more expensive.
I think it is too. The Maxwell started with 12 ultra capacitors, and this thing has like 68 ultra capacitors.
Exactly. It's a really high quality product.
And the cold cranking amps on it is about 300 and something more than the cold cranking amps were on the Maxwell Start module. Was 1800, and this one's like 2194.
The average lead acid truck battery, I think, is like 1100. So we're almost. And I can tell you, on a lot of trucks, the Maxwell made it sound like you had an air starter. That thing kicked over so fast. I can't imagine what this one will do.
Well, according to Ohm's law, it'll just use all the power that it can, for turning that truck over. So we might see something. The
probably
SkelStart
spin that starter pretty fast.
It's good up to 17 liters is what they're claiming on the 12-volt model.
I believe
so
it.
your Sky Mobile box. Who's the carrier, the main carrier for that?
you choose on both services, Nomad and Sky Mobile. You choose between Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. It's your choice.
So which one did you go with? Because you went with
right
T-Mobile
now,
for your other one, right?
Yeah, Nomad is T-Mobile, and Nomad is T-Mobile. My Sky Mobile router has got AT&T SIMs in it right now. And the reason I did that is because I have another router on board that I've always used that has Verizon SIMs in it. Now, that's not an unlimited. But now that I've tested these two, it might seem like a little bit of overboard for most people, but when I'm on the road, my connection is really important. I have a feeling
Ours too.
I have a feeling I'm going to go to a third account in the coach. So I'll probably go, and I may even send my Nomad back. Just because if I'm going to have this service, why wouldn't I just have all three on one? And I may actually go buy 2 more routers from Sky Mobile, and one will be T-Mobile and one will be Verizon, and I'll have 3 routers putting out unlimited data. I think I'd be pretty safe then.
You have external antenna on that Sky Mobile?
I do. Yep. The Nomad does.
Awesome. Because
the Nomad.
Let me tell you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, let me tell you what I got here. My wife has 2 phones. One of them's unlimited T-Mobile. One of them's unlimited Verizon. The Verizon that she works remotely, and then I've got 2 SIMs in my one phone, and I can switch between the 2 of them effortlessly. She can't use the Verizon one to start her system. Because she works remotely. There's a bunch of programs that need to run, so she has to do the T-Mobile first, and then switch over after everything's up and running to the Verizon in order to get that to work. Now, we're limited on 10 gigs per, and I've got 20 gigs on my T-Mobile on mine. So between the 4 of those, plus all the TV streaming that we do, but we don't actually stream to the TV. I just plug my phone into a thing called a DeX, and it basically turns the phone into a desktop computer, and we just full screen TV from there.
I don't know if you've tested this yet or not, but I can tell you I did a ton of this. I kept thinking, because as soon as you stream to the TV, you start wiping out your data. You can go through your whole month worth of data in 2 hours. But So I thought the same thing. I thought, well, wait a minute. What if I connect it hardwired? Like I'm going to take my phone and actually hardwire it to my TV, and then all I thought I was doing was taking the picture that was on my phone and trying to connect it. It wouldn't even allow me. I tried everywhere. I tried Bluetooth, I tried Wi-Fi, I tried a wired connection. Every time I tried to send that data to that TV, it could sense it, and it just wouldn't let me do it.
Yeah, the issue with that is it's a block inside of the phone. That's what happens when you go directly with iPhone. With Android devices, with Android devices you could share data with other programs, and all you have to do is download the right program in order to communicate with your TV.
Got it. Okay. Now here's the thing, and I have spent every time I've been on the road, I spend all kinds of time trying to manage data. I have SIM cards everywhere. I have accounts everywhere, and it's every day. How much data do I have left on this one? Okay, let's use this one today. And I mean, it was a nightmare. I have to tell you, the last week has been awesome. 2 TVs in the coach streaming all day if I want. I'm on the internet all day long. I don't think about data. I don't have to switch connections. I've just got all the devices connected to the 2 routers, and everything just works. I'm loving it.
Very nice. Yeah, that T-Mobile, there's a couple of spots up there in Wisconsin that if we stop up there, like Portage, Wisconsin, or stop up there by the Dells, the T-Mobile service says that you have 5 bars of 5G. Even if you switch over to 4G, you still got 5 bars of 4G, but you can't get data to work at all. And I've got the unlimited. I've got the unlimited plan, and when I call to find out if I'm throttled, because I'll use 160, 250. I think the most that I've used is in the 400s per month on one phone.
Yeah,
and that's not.
I know.
That's not the whole thing. That's one phone. And every time that I call, they're like, no, we'll try to refresh the tower and all that. But it's only just a couple of little places that I've had that problem. I'm wondering if you had that same issue where you just got a bad tower.
Very, very rarely. And again, because I have, at times I've had all three, and I do right now. I have Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. I can always find something that's working. Here's another interesting thing. Neither one of these routers are 5G routers. They're 3G and 4G, and you can even see a light on them. It tells you which one you're accessing, 3G or 4G. But I was a little shocked the other day. I stopped somewhere, and my AT&T router was giving me like 130 megabits down and like 60-something up. I didn't know 4G could be that fast.
Oh, yeah, 4G is pretty awesome. 4G limits, I think, somewhere around 190 or something.
Oh,
and a full gigabit down. But it's also based on node, so how many people are on that same node downloading at the same time.
Right. Yeah, but it is gigabit. I've never seen speeds like that, but it was just cranking, and that's just 4G.
Awesome. Well, I think I've geeked out enough. I've got information that I was interested in, and we hope to hear more from you.
There you go. Thanks. I appreciate it. We're going to grab a couple more calls here, just the ones that are on the line, so don't keep calling. And I got to wrap this up today. I have found some potential solutions to my technology issue. Going forward, making this all better. I had a couple breakthroughs over the weekend. I just need to go someplace today and get some equipment and start working on it. So we'll take these last two calls. We'll wrap it up. We're going to go to Tim in Wisconsin. Welcome.
Hey, Kevin. How you doing?
Doing good. What's on your mind today?
I got a couple of yogurt questions. So first batch I made.
Hey, Tim. Tim.
Yep.
Are you on some kind of a Bluetooth or speaker? Your call quality is really poor.
Is this any better, Kevin?
It's a little better. Go ahead and give it a shot. We'll see how it sounds.
All right, how about now? Is that better?
It got a little louder, but it's still a little staticky and kind of broken up.
Okay, well, how about that? Any better there?
No, but go ahead. Go ahead. We'll see if we can make it work. I can hear you. The people listening might be struggling even more. That's what I worry about. But go ahead.
Okay, so yogurt question. First batch I made, because I didn't have my Albuterol yet, I went to the health food store and got some kefir or kefir, whatever you call it. Made that and.
Hey, Tim. Tim, I now I'm even having a hard time understanding everything. So we got to try to fix this, or I'm gonna have to drop you. Nope. I think we just lost the call. I have a feeling he had a pretty bad connection. One more call, then we're going to wrap this up. Adam in Texas, you get the last word today. What's on your mind?
What's up, brother? Nice to hear from you again.
Good to have you here. What can I help you with?
Yeah, so I got a little bit of a health question pertaining to blood pressure. So, went off the rails Christmas time. 3 days after Christmas, went strict carnivore. I mean, very strict. And about 3 weeks ago, I left the house, came back into Texas, and they sent me, I had to go do my DOT physical anyway, so they sent me to one of these Texas med clinics. Went in there, and it came out probably better than, any DOT physical I've ever had. My blood pressure was 115/75.
Excellent.
0 zero sugar in my urine.
Perfect.
So everything was good. I mean, he yelled at me because he saw me smoking a cigarette by the front door before I came in. But other than that, everything was amazing. So I was happy to hear that, and even my next size is under 18 because I was always getting tagged for sleep studies.
Right.
But I know I haven't been adamant about checking my blood pressure, but the last time I was really checking it, probably around Thanksgiving, it was in the hypertension range.
Okay.
So at the physical, after about 5 weeks on carnivore, 115/75, I go home a week later to Colorado Springs and check my blood pressure again. I'm at 153/90.
So was it just a one-time thing, or is it now consistently like that?
Well, that was my question. I checked it all weekend at home because it scared me. I'm like, I was just 115/75. What's going on? Hadn't changed. Hadn't had a cheat meal.
Right.
Nothing. And then all of a sudden I'm back in hypertension, and so I take the blood pressure cuff with me. I get back down to San Antonio last week. I'm 118/58.
Okay. Perfect. So here's the thing.
I was wondering if it was the elevation or what's going on here,
The good news is, and I'll come back to explaining what it might have been, the good news is you're fine. Don't worry about anything. You don't really need to change anything. Blood pressure is like this. It can be, I can take somebody and raise their blood pressure in 30 seconds if I want to. I put them in a really hot shower. Put them in a really hot shower, their blood pressure is going to go through the roof. That's how it works. Nothing wrong with that, though. So when we get those one readings here where it's really high, I could come up with 10 reasons why. Stress will do it. Heat will do it. Altitude would have an impact on it. Your body has to start pumping a lot more blood to get enough oxygen to your lungs because there's not enough oxygen in the atmosphere. So it has to pump more volume of blood just to get your oxygen levels up to where they need to be. So, altitude would have an impact on it. But that's why we tell people, don't go by your blood pressure reading you get at the doctor. We know that there's a problem there. We call it white coat syndrome. Everybody's blood pressure goes through the roof when they're at the doctor's office. So blood pressure cuffs are $30. Go buy a blood pressure cuff, and you'll find out the more you check it, it's all over the board. And that's okay. But you want to be mostly under those numbers, the 120/80 kind of thing. And when you get those occasional high readings, no big deal. Now, if all of a sudden, every time you check, you're running higher than you want to be, then we'd have to say, okay, what happened? And while we're talking about it, and this is my last call, I might as well throw this in there, because I thought you were going to ask me about lowering it, or if we're going to need to. My answer was going to be there are basically three ways we've found to attack this. And I've been working on this for about a year, so we've learned a lot about this. We can take the quick, easy way that actually works for most people. And believe it or not, it is a supplement. Cardio Miracle seems to just be amazing for this. And there's a lot of other good stuff in there, vitamin D and zinc and all kinds of other things we should probably take every day anyway. I just hate taking supplements. But I've found that I actually, the Cardio Miracle is now a habit for me because I put it in water, and I need to drink more water anyway. So I make sure when I get up in the morning, I get my big water bottle, I put a scoop of Cardio Miracle in, fill it up with water, and drink till it's gone. And then later on in the evening, I do it again. And it's been pretty amazing. Now, that's the quick, easy way. The other way is to really, if we're having a problem, it's probably chronic stress related. So we could approach the root cause of the problem by lowering our stress levels and building our stress muscle, which is that whole protocol I've been working on, and I've released all the parts of the protocol. We just haven't published everything yet because we're still working on it, but it's basically cold exposure, infrared sauna, Wim Hof breathing, and what am I missing? Cold exposure, sauna, Wim Hof. Oh, and the X3 workout, or any kind of high-intensity, short-duration workout. We just like the X3 bar, especially in the truck. Those 4 things, done consistently, do both. They lower your overall stress levels, they build your stress muscle, and blood pressure is a big part of that, so it comes down. That's number 2. Then number 3, which is the option I work best, do them both. Do all the stress protocols and do the Cardio Miracle, and lots of things get better.
Yeah, I mean, I was scouring, because it does kind of scare you when you're getting these high readings all of a sudden. And
yeah, absolutely.
So I was thinking about, the immediate thing that popped in my head was the altitude. I'm 6,000.
No, you were on the right track. Yep. Yep.
So I was thinking about just doing the Cardio Miracle for when I'm at home, or maybe even starting to go out there and do some jogging or stuff when I'm at home in the higher elevations.
So here's what I would recommend. Instead of jogging for a mile or 2 or 20 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever, go sprint instead.
Yeah, like the hit stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Blast off.
Yeah, one of the good ways to do it with jogging, and it's easy to do in Colorado because you have hills everywhere. When I do sprint or bicycle for hit, what I like to have is a hill. So I run up the hill, which really stresses me, and then I walk back down and then run back up. Sprint.
Yeah. Well, we
do those,
we in,
3 or 4 till you feel like you're going to fall over, and it only takes you 10 minutes and you're done.
Yeah, back when in the early days in football, we used to do what they called 1,000-yard relays, and you would all line up at the end zone, and you would run as hard as you could to the other end zone, and then you would walk back.
Yep.
And you would do that 10 times or whatever for 1,000 yards. And it's basically the same thing. We didn't know what hit was back then.
We did kind of the same thing, and our coach called them wind sprints.
Yeah. I think building up my cardio while I'm at home, and the Cardio Miracle, I wish that shit was a little bit cheaper, because it's not cheap, for sure.
Here, I think I can help you cut the price in half. Try only doing 1 scoop a day and see if you get the same results. You might.
Okay.
I know the recommended dose is 2 scoops, and I tell people start with that. See, we want to make sure this thing works, and so jump in with 2 scoops, but at some point, switch to 1. My guess is you're still going to get the same results, and we're going to cut our cost in half.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and then, mainly when I'm at home. I'm pretty much in Texas when I'm not at home, and, my readings seem to be fine here, so
I think you were on the right track. The altitude has, and you know what? It's like a lot of things. If you spent all of your time at that altitude, your body would probably adjust somewhat on its own. I will tell you this: if the whole stress protocol is designed for all the problems stress causes, and there's a lot of them. But if our focus is pure blood pressure, I'll tell you the one that works the best is the cold exposure.
Right. I do that when I shower at the truck stop. I hit that cold shower.
Perfect.
I do the Wim Hof. I don't have the X3 or the sauna blanket, but I did buy my wife the sauna blanket for Christmas. She enjoys it, and
good.
It's helping her a lot. She's a school teacher, so just she's stressed anyway. But she gave me the diesel watch.
Holy cow.
Yeah, she gave me the diesel watch for my birthday,
awesome.
and I love that thing, and
me too.
but what I can see is my heart rate is always over 90. Always over 90. I mean, hardly ever am I getting under that.
The best way to bring your resting heart rate down is some sort of HIIT training, and especially if you do that HIIT training at home in Colorado. That it's like sports teams, and a lot of professional athletes go to Colorado to train just for that reason. That altitude, if you train in that altitude, it's really powerful.
Yeah, we have right there in my town. We have the Olympics Training Center.
I've been there. Awesome place.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
Yeah,
really cool.
When I coached in the club, at high school, I was technically I wasn't head coach, but I ran the whole wrestling program. I did all the training and that. But in the club, our head coach in the club was actually he's Olympic level qualified, and he goes out to the training center out there all the time.
Yeah. But everything is, other than everything's awesome. We've been doing the yogurt since right at the first of the year too. Everything.
Oh, awesome. Well, no wonder why you got such good results. You jumped into the deep end with both feet.
Well, I'm not really looking at the scale because I am working out. So,
yeah.
I'm a big guy. I mean, my weight at the physical was 297, but I wear a size 36, so
nice.
I'm not really concerned with that. That's a lot of more muscle than fat.
That's right.
And
yep.
So I try to stay away from that, whatever that scale says, and see how my clothes fit, and
Exactly.
But yeah, we're doing good. I just wanted to run that by you because it gave me a little concern.
Nope, you're on the right track. You had already figured it out on your own. You're just calling me to verify, and you're correct. Yep, you had it.
Yep, you're the almighty wise one. So
well, like I said, you had this figured out. All I did was verify it for you.
Yeah, that's more than I could ask for, brother. I appreciate you.
Perfect. You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Awesome results. We're going to take. No, we're not. We're done. I thought I was going to have one more update before I wrap this up today. What was I thinking? Oh, I know what it is. All the stuff we just talked about in that conversation, Cardio Miracle, the infrared sauna blanket, the X3 bar. I think there were some others in there. What else did we talk about? The Cardio Miracle, X3, sauna blanket, all of that and everything else. It's all available in our store. A lot of people, I keep getting blasted with messages, and I love it. Keep them coming. But the theme has been, how can we help? How can we help? We canceled Sirius. We want to send you some money. Don't just send us money. Just support us. And the store is the easiest and one of our best ways to support us. Just go buy stuff in the store. And I don't want you to just buy stuff, but we have awesome food. We have seafood. We have beef sticks. We have nut butters. I could go on and on and on. We have, soups and the supplements you need and the Cardio Miracle. And just support us. Just buy stuff that's good for you anyway. It's all this stuff we've proven it works. They all have benefits. The food's amazing. Just go to our store, letstruck.com, and just support us through the store right now. That's all we need really to get us through. And then, of course, the two websites. But almost everybody listening to me is probably already a member because you're really the only people we're promoting this to. So if you want, help promote our websites. Get people to healthytribe.com and truckingtribe.com. They're $3 a month. But it actually helps us. It's revenue that we need to replace. We did lose a significant amount of revenue overnight. 3 big sponsors. It cost us a lot, and we're going to have to figure out how to replace that. We're okay. We're in a pretty good cash position for now. But I also know that there's a really good chance our store sales are about to plummet because we're not on the air. We're not reaching I don't even know what the number is. We're not reaching 100,000 people anymore. Right now, we're reaching 300. That's pretty significant. So we need your help. You are the people we consider the tribe. That's why we came to you first. You're the only people hearing these shows. I mean, every now and then somebody else shares the link, but for the most part, we're only promoting these shows and doing these shows for you, the tribe. Really small group right now. We got to grow that. But in the meantime, all the support you can give us as the tribe is greatly appreciated, and it really does help us, and it will help us build out our network that much faster so we can bring you even more value than we ever did on Sirius. I promise you, help us build this network out, and we will build a trucking channel you can be proud of, a trucking channel that is going to bring you the very best information in every area. Trucks, fuel mileage, maintenance, business, accounting, technology, health, you name it. We're going to cover it, and we're going to do it right. We're going to build a trucking network that really brings value. We do need your help. Come on over and support us and start spreading the word. And with that, I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm going to do my part. I'm going to go do the hard work on my end to try to keep improving this thing and get it out to more and more people. So thank you. Calls and questions are great. Myself and the team, we couldn't appreciate your support more. And we will see you back here tomorrow. Same time, same bet channel. Should be the Power Hour. That's right. We're going back to some of our regular shows, and the Power Hour is one of them. So tomorrow we'll be joined by the team from Pittsburgh Power, and we'll take all of your maintenance-related calls. So we'll see you then. Be safe, be profitable, be fit and healthy always. Do the hard work and master the journey. Thanks, everybody.